Welcome back. And I've told already that I was gonna do a short kind of tutorial of how to shoot hyperlapse with your Neo 2. And for that you will need a controller. And then I thought about that a little bit more, and today I did film some video out there on the field, and it was quite intensive thing. But at that moment I also thought of maybe I should expand this theme a little bit. Just this is basically I'm out in the forest. Because as you know, you can buy this Neo 2 just as a vlog drone, so you don't even need a controller. Or if you want to control it, you can expand your functions with your phone. You will get more of those selfie shot modes, and you can also even get virtual joysticks, and you can, you can be pilot and fly your drone. And this will be good for you to actually a little bit more understand what is going on with the drone when you are filming with it. And also you can a little bit build up your confidence in flying, because you need to do it several times in order to get that muscular memory with your fingers. And it actually flies just as you would fly with an actual controller, with an exception that they are virtual joysticks, and your thumbs while you're flying with your drone, they will be covering part of the screen, so you don't see those critical spots which would be right at the sides of the screen, so you might bump into something. Now, it has propeller guards and everything, and I have stripped it a little bit so that it will be flying even longer. But there will be at some moment when you will be thinking like, maybe I should get an actual controller. This does not apply on everyone. I know that many of you will be thinking of buying this to be your vlog drone, so it can follow you when you're skiing or bicycling or whatever you're doing. But at some point you might be thinking that I might want something more. Five things what you can do better with the controller, even with this kind of a drone. And then you can actually decide if you would like to have the RC2 or RCN3 to go along with your drone. The best part of these controllers is, just like I have this one, I bought this for my Air 3S, but now I can use it with my Neo 2 without any extra expense. In fact, I bought this one and I sold my RCN3 off to someone who needed a controller. So I think we should just get into why should you get an actual controller and what kind of controller is best for you. Let's start with number one. So basically, one of the best things of this drone is that it actually has the simulator. So you can practice with any of those three drones, what you have there, Mini, Air and Mavic Pro. And you can learn how they move. You can also try those functions, what they have in them. So you might even want to think about if I would like to get one of those things or not. Well, I already have Air, so I don't have to think about that anymore. So that would be one of the best and actually quite good way of flying your drone, even if you're not flying it at all. That would be the best thing for your muscular memory and how you can develop it so that you don't have to think about those sticks so much more, because that is something what you build up with time. And yeah, small things might make expensive mistakes, even with this sturdy little drone like this. The number 2 would be tracking. Of course, in selfie modes, this is actually pretty good with tracking, but there's not so much what you can do about it. Well, of course, you can use your hand to actually adjust where it is filming, and that's great. It's also quite visible sign for you, and also this is great for framing, getting it further or closer. It's genius, actually. And of course you can use your phone, but from my experience, I just make more problems with my phone than actually using my hands. And that would be one of the reasons why I would choose to do that. Except when I'm using those boomerangs or, circle or drone or rockets or, well, that is actually very much fun, that dolly shoot. When you have the controller, then you can get more precise with things. And of course you can also track even your car if you would like to do so. So now I'm filming myself, I'm gonna record this. But focus track enabled, so then I can just click me, and then I can always just use the POI. And then I also have active track, stop. Yeah, stop. And then I have the spotlight. And then if I will just move like this and record, it is gonna keep me in control. So in the focus, and it will do the same even if I'm doing it like this. And then I can get up. It is gonna keep me completely but even if you're tracking like some, well, I had example of a bush right here, and well, it's not bush, it's a pine. So I can choose that, and it recognizes it quite well. And then I can think of how close I will start tracking and how far I will be by the end of it. It might not be the best thing for filming yourself, because you will have to go around with the controller in your hand. But if you would go through those things, then you can actually even change the speed of how much it's turning. And it will, especially if you use those tracking modes, which is built in to this controller, then you can adjust your approach in quite more defined ways. So you can see here where I'm walking down, I have tracking in POI, and you can use it autopilot in that way, that you will just choose how fast it goes around you, and then it will go around you. But with sticks, you can actually change the distance of how far away it goes and how close by it comes. There is a limit, of course, but you can also change it so that it's higher up or lower down, and you can change that while it goes. And you can of course change the direction of the drone. So you could alter the speed, think of what you're doing, and put it so that it will do that. And you can even probably leave your controller on the ground or on the table or on your bag and walk someplace and come back, and it will follow you. But when I used my phone and then I just put it to go circle around me, it expects me to stand still, because when I'm walking down the road, it will, well, you can see it got a little bit confused. So that it would be number 2, the tracking. You can make it so much better with controls. It's not too bad with the drone itself, but with controller you can also control those exposure values and what you would see more fitting for the scene. So there you go. Well, we are still at the basics, but then again, knowing basics well will actually build your skills and your brains around the theme of filming and flying. So number 3 would be frame rates. So as we know, well, of course you can choose those frame rates and your settings in your phone, so you can choose what kind of filming you want to do. 4K, 1080, you want to have 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, but then that's that. Then you can choose vertical or horizontal. But with controller, you can get the slow motion also in the game. And why would you want to choose one over the other? Well, I would say even that 4K or 1080p 60 frames per second, which is new thing for this drone, which makes it a little bit more stand out, or 25 frames per second or 50 frames per second if you are in PAL country. When you're doing slow shots, like more cinematic kind of slow shots, slowly creeping in or slowly panning, then you might want to have this for the 4K 30 frames per second. It does give you possibility of nice motion blur. Of course, you will have to use the 180 rule, shutter rule for that, so that if you want to have that natural looking motion blur. It's great for that, but it's also great for that if you want to keep yourself at the center, for example, or something what you are shooting, and you want to go around yourself and have everything around you to go absolutely blurry. That's one way of getting that done effectively, and because this has a good tracking, you can also do it quite easily. But if you would like to have good definition in movements, you don't want to have so much of motion blur, you can always use the 4K 60 frames per second. And then you can do even faster turns, you can do faster spins, you can do faster panning, so that what you are filming won't turn to be as just a blurry scenery just slowly going by. This is why you want to have 60 frames per second, and then for that 180 degree shutter rule, you would have to use the 120 of a second shutter to get the best natural looking image. And then we have the absolutely amazing, which might not be the top of your list what you want to shoot with, but when you need the slow motion, for example nice water movements, or you want to follow very fast paced movements, then you want to have faster frames for your shootings. The ideal would be, for me, be 120 frames per second, because I'm usually using 30 frames per second timeline, or even 60 frames per second timeline. So that would look better, not so jittery, but I'll take that 100 frames per second. But for that you will have to have 200 of second shutter speed, and sometimes you might even want to go higher than what would be the golden 180-degree shutter rule, because that would get rid of some of that digital shake reduction what these cameras usually tend to do. When you go well past the 180 shutter rule, the image will look unnatural, like over sharpened kind of looking. Usually it happens during daytime, so every frame is completely still. This is the way that it works also in photography. So if you want to have faster shutter speed, 1,000 of a second shutters, it usually stops the movement right there. And when you use slower shutter, like, well, 1/13th of the second, then it will be, when you have movement, it will have blur. So that's how it works. And also you can get quite nice long exposures with this when you're shooting with the photo mode. I have shot 1/10th of a second, and I think it did do incredibly well. So now we are getting closer to that hyperlapse what I've been talking about, and this is part of that. So number 4 would be timeline and your editing. So, well, of course you don't want to overthink it, but there's something that you need to keep in mind when you're shooting with different frames per second, just what I told you about. For example, if you're shooting in PAL country and you need to use 25 frames per second or 50 frames per second, then that 100 frames per second will be fitting perfectly for your 4 times slow motion, for your 25 frames per second timeline. But when you're shooting 30 frames per second, when you don't have that PAL restrictions, or you don't need to care about those, then you don't shoot in 50 frames per second or 25 frames per second for your timeline, or 24 frames per second if you want to have cinematic video for YouTube. You will need to keep it where you can have it in similar digits what you can have, because otherwise it will look jittery, or then it will it could drop frames, or then you need to kind of add frames, and then you would kind of need to know more than just what you need to know for filming for social media or YouTube. So don't overthink it. But when you're shooting like hyperlapse, then you probably will put those photos in your timeline, and then you will have to make them to be short enough. But in my case, I'm using a program. You can use your iPad. There is some animation programs there for free, like eStop Motion, or, you know, and then I can put those photos in that timeline, but I will decide the output of that timeline to match my timeline on the editing program. So if I'm shooting 30 frames per second, my possibly my hyperlapse would be 15 frames per second or 30 frames per second, depends how many photos I get. That will be part of that hyperlapse thing because of this thing's battery and how it restricts that creative work. is that you can't do so long hyperlapses, and that would be probably the reason why in this controller, where you have normally hyperlapse function, and you will have all of the functions here, and it will guide you through, and you can have different. You don't have any of that here with this drone, and that would be probably the reason why. So one just little thing before the last things. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel to help me grow this channel so that I can do more things like this, more videos for you where you can learn things, where you can enjoy nice sceneries, for example, and get to know good ways how you can be creative with your tools what you have at hands. And I also happen to have very good videos in line just waiting for you to look at those first when they appear here in the YouTube on my feed. Thank you very much. But now I will come to that final number 5 point of why you should have actually a controller, RC3 or RC2. Photos. I can take a photo of this, just like that. And if I will use from photo modes, I can use burst, so it will take burst of photos. And then I have timed shot. I did use this 7 seconds. There's also option for less. It's like every 2 seconds, every 3 seconds, 10 seconds. I would say that the most usable range for this is hyperlapse. Most usable range for hyperlapse is 2 to 7 seconds. 10 seconds is even too much. But what we have here, we have stick mode, and good thing about the RC2 is that there is button customization, and I have already in C1 there is like, well, actually I would like to have follow FPV, so I could get also that FPV like movements when I'm using it in N mode or C mode, which could be good. Then we have here cruise control, and I will keep it as cruise control for button C2, which is here at the back. And then this C1 will turn this drone to be used like FPV in N mode 2. So I also have adjust shutter speed. I can use it, hold C1 plus right dial, and now I have in right dial as it is. I have adjust EV, but I could also put here adjust shutter speed. It could be handy. So now I can adjust exposure, or if I will push this, then I can adjust EV. So if I'm using auto mode, then I can adjust the EV, so it's from this button. So now I'm actually quite happy how this will work. You would not be able to do any of those things with these simple selfie modes with this drone. And here I have a little bit of field material of my Hyperlapse. I was filming today on this beautiful pond or swamp, and it turned out to be, first of all, it turned out to be quite nice day, and I made it barely back. Yeah, so let's try handheld time-lapse with the Neo. I'll just make some settings so that it won't be shaking as much. And I have my, probably the best thing what you can have. You know, this is basically, I'm out in the forest and I want to do a time-lapse or hyperlapse, and I'm just gonna go that way and see how it goes. So, I am now going to do some hyperlapse. Home point updated. And this is also getting to be ready. And yeah, this is a small swamp, and sun is also a little bit coming out now, so I should be quite good. There was an eagle and a lot of crows around here, so I think there must be a deer or something which have been caught by some animal or hunter, I don't know. So, but now I have, you know, the time is quite limited. And well, I was flying over the pond and I did catch this material, what you can see from here. And I also took some video because the sun was coming out, so I did get some nice video of that pond. And now I'm going to take some video to get a little bit overall thing. That was so intense to get that those warnings, and I knew that if I was gonna, now it was 14%, 5 more percent, and it was going down quickly when it goes past 25. You can really see those numbers going. So I took a little risk. I hope that it was worth it, and it kind of was, because nothing happened. But I know that 5 more percent, like when it would go under the 10, it would start to come down automatically, no matter what. If it was over there, and you know, there are some puddles here, you know, it's a swamp. So that was a little bit intensive, but I did fly back over that forest so that I would have been able to land it somewhere dry if it was gonna, you know, do that for me. But not. So now I'm gonna shoot some more in normal video mode because the sun is out and it looks absolutely beautiful, this little pond. So I got like 2.5 seconds worth of hyperlapse. So I would say that's kind of okay. So there was my 5 different reasons why you would want to choose this controller or the other controller instead of your phone. Things what you can get out of the Neo with these controllers, they are exceptional, and you can get, the image quality is actually quite high up there. It's not like lowest grade of drone like the original Neo was. And this is not even all what you can do with this. I'm gonna cover this a little bit more actually in depth in my next video. FPV, and I have actually, you know, there has been a lot of excitement when I bought this drone and I wanted to get my goggles and FPV controller and neglecting my motion controller, but actually the motion controller might be one of the strongest points for this drone. But I'll get quite a bit more in depth in my next video, and I hope to see you there. So fly safe and enjoy your day.